And it looks like we are officially live. What is going on, everyone? Flipmasters come back at you. It's been, a couple weeks, obviously. Obviously, Hell's Kitchen took its break, but we're back now. Once again, a new year to finish off this season of Hell's Kitchen Season 22, The American Dream, to talk about what, in my opinion, could go down as probably the best episode of the season, if not one of the best episodes in Hell's Kitchen history. Because not exactly, due to the entertainment of all, but considering the outcome and everything that happened, the twists and turns, it was definitely fun to talk about. So, and of course, I'm joined by my usual co-host to talk about it, Ultra, in a new location for this time. How you doing, Ultra?
Doing good, and it's not like a permanent new location. I'm just on vacation. I've been staying with my family for the holidays. I had a very good Christmas. I had a pretty nice New Year. Stay up all the way till midnight for 2024 because out with the old and with the new as far as the last year went. And yeah, I'm actually going to be going back to my usual location starting tomorrow. So yeah, just wish me safe travels for when I do that. But I am still here and fully able for this podcast.
All right. And once again, joining us, and for full disclosure, he'll be joining us for the rest of the season, I guess, as my secondary co-host. And now, for those of you, again, who did see my cute community post, now officially, we've been wanting this, now officially a Hell's Kitchen YouTuber. You got to change that, got to change his name, I guess. Join us, Survivor Gumball. What's it like to be officially a YouTuber now, Hell's Kitchen YouTuber?
It's been a lot. Yeah, like I had a new video come out yesterday, and yeah, like so far I feel like it's been doing pretty well, and it's like I feel like now that I'm on the train, like I'm glad I can be part of the community.
No going back. Yeah, so for those of you guys who don't know, Gumball yesterday did a season 1 ranking for the just of the Hell's Kitchen chefs, ranking them, and he's going to be doing that on a weekly basis going through each season. So please go subscribe and check out Gumball if you haven't already. Like I said, as I said, you won't find a detailed analyst of a cheesy show like Hell's Kitchen for and then Gumball. So please give him a shot. Yeah, one of us, officially Hell's Kitchen YouTuber. Full crazy like last year. What you hadn't watched the show, now you are recapping on my channel and doing videos, eh?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
It's been a lot.
All right, all right, cool. Watch. Yeah, for sure. All right, so. Then, guys, we already got over 100 viewers in here. Again, talk about this icon. Again, I think this will go down as a pretty iconic episode, all things considered. So let's get right into it. Started off very, very interesting. We got a little, not last week, but a couple weeks ago, we had seen a Jason versus Jonathan argument happen. Our first argument in a while, Ultra, because we had a whole bunch of petty arguments to begin the season. And like I said, once Renisha kind of went home, that kind of ended. So let me ask you this, Ultra. What did you think of the argument? And also, did you think this is looks bad on Jonathan's part, that, he just kind of lost it? Or again, do you think this is good on his part, especially, the fact that he was going up against Jason, obviously, the most hated chef this season? How'd you kind of feel about this fight in general?
It only looks bad on on Jonathan in the sense that he didn't do it sooner. And it's not just because Jason's had this coming for a while. It's the sense that I feel as though, I guess maybe by him holding it in for a little bit, you could argue well, hey, shouldn't you be holding the test the entire time? It's because he did technically do it just because he called his name out like that. But what am I supposed to say? That he shouldn't have done that? No, that's totally justified on his part. Yeah, he called you out, tried blaming his mistakes on you as well, try making you look worse. I'd be offended. I can't act I can't act Jonathan was wrong in saying what he said. He didn't go over the line with anything Jason said. If anything, Jason was acting like his usual stuck-up self who just was never going to learn his lesson. I feel as though this was righteous.
Got it. What's up? By the way, guys, Ruby will be coming back. I haven't even told you this yet, but as of right now, Ruby will be coming back to join us once again after he first joined us. What was it, podcast 3 or 4 to do our first initial draft?
Fourth,
I don't even remember the draft
because it was after.
Yeah. I don't even know what the draft looks like, so that'll be interesting to see. Gumball, how do you kind of feel about the fight? Again, obviously, is read the edit. Do you kind of, because in Survivor, that's always usually a pretty bad sign. But in this case, do you think it was good for Jonathan? Because Ultra's even saying it's actually good on Jonathan.
Oh yeah, like I think it was pretty good on Jonathan. I mean, Jason's been like dunked on for most of the season, and I feel like considering that this obviously leads to Jason leaving, like it kind of sort of makes sense that bubbles up now, right before like the end. And I feel like through like Jonathan like coming out on top by the end of it, I think it kind of looks good on Jonathan more so than anything else.
All right, so we get right into the episode. Of course, we all knew it was the at the time double elimination. Again, we'll obviously talk about that, but the Black Jacket Lounge Challenge and Ultra. We got a return of one of my personal favorites to begin, the Vegas Roll Challenge. Again, some all-time really funny bad answers and bad dishes. And I got to ask you, what did you think about this? You know, being like a part of like such a big challenge, right? Because again, a lot of times we see chefs, you know, kind of think of dumb answers on the spot, right? And going off on top of that, would you have like tried to like think of like a dumb dish to try to sabotage like a strong chef like a Jonathan or Demir? You know, so how do you kind of how do you kind of feel about, you know, this challenge coming at such an important time?
I never considered that for a strategy. Actually, I think you'd be a pretty good, uh, you'd be a pretty good hacker on Hell's Kitchen if you ever went on there. If assuming that your cooking skills could match that as well, but I would probably have just gone with something that I felt comfortable with, assuming that it again fell on the letter that we had. And honestly, I don't think any of the ingredients they mentioned were all that strange. They had been strange in the past, like miso. Didn't seem like a bad idea here, though. At least, I guess the only one that everyone thought was weird in this episode was turnips. And I'm like, why?
Yeah.
It's like turnips are fine. I have them occasionally for Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner. It's like,
Yeah,
I mean, I don't usually eat them outside of that, but I like turnips. So
I was hoping we get another fig sauce type moment. That's what I was so hoping for, and that's what I'm saying. It would have been funny, like maybe had someone subconsciously like said, "Hey, I do figs all the time," and they subconsciously picked a bad dish that they could have done and would have screwed everyone else.
Fig sauce doesn't even cover it. Try dragon fruit.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of hoping for, right? So, all right. So let's kind of talk about, you know, what we saw again during. It's kind of obviously this portion is kind of rushed. We once again really the only we didn't really get any personal background other than Jonathan, you know, kind of once again talking about he was doing it for his family. Everyone else just kind of hit at their dish. And for the first time, Ultra, is this right? I believe this is right. The first time since the introduction of the Black Jacket Lounge Challenge, someone got their black jacket right after tasting. Is that right? Yes or no?
I don't think that's correct. I'm pretty sure that was done at least once before. I'm trying to remember who it happened to.
Yeah, Chad, if you could help us out.
I think it was to somebody during All Stars or Rookies versus Veterans, one of them. I might be a little bit off. I have to go back and check those, but I'm confident that this is not the first time that's happened.
Alejandro, wow, last year?
Yes, Lucas is right. Alejandro got it. That's what I was trying to remember. So yeah, it's happened before.
Yeah, I was thinking it happened. Boy, I totally forgot about that. Oh, cool. Wow,
it's
that's
like
cool.
I knew it happened. I just forgot who to, which is pretty bad on my part. Not for like just remembering stuff because these details get mixed. It's that we've interviewed Alejandro before. Yeah. You think I remember something like this?
I feel like I would remember that too, especially because that's the thing. That was such a big thing too, and especially for Alejandro last year when we were all thinking he might have been in trouble. All right, so yeah, and so then we kind of got everyone taste their dish. Gumball, after Jonathan got his dish, who did you think was going to be the next person to get the next and final person in this round to get the black jacket?
Yeah. So obviously, I feel like Jonathan like was pretty strong, like especially at the point where Gordon said like he had nothing like negative to say, whereas the people we saw before had something negative. He had something negative to say about it. So I feel like Jonathan getting the black jacket made sense. I think Sammy getting the black jacket does make sense here, considering like he also didn't have anything negative to say about her dish. Like everyone else, like we see Gordon being like, the dish is good, but this dish is good, but this. We saw this with every other person except for Jonathan and Sammy. So I feel like that it sort of made sense that Sammy would be the other black jacket from this challenge.
Yeah, that's exactly my thoughts. Exactly. Ultra, were you thinking Sammy as well? Or did you have any different thoughts?
I was confident because she strikes me as like the Virginia or the Mia of this season in that, yeah, she gets okay, Sammy didn't get nominated a lot, but they weren't known for having the best services necessarily. But when it came to dishes and challenges, they were almost always all-star dishes.
Mm-hmm. All right, cool. So, and Ultra, again, I know I'm putting you on a spot, but you're my guy. Is there any correlation with the first two Black Jackets being like final two or like two of the final three? Is this foreshadowing that our final two this season will be Sammy and Jonathan? That's been a popular pick for a long time. Is this foreshadowing things to come?
I doubt it because Ryan, the first time this was done was in season 16 with Ryan, and she was not one of the first two who got their black jacket. I believe the same thing in All Stars. I don't think Michelle was one of the first. Season 18, it was. Ariel got her jacket pretty quickly. Season 19, I think Corey got hers in the second round, and so on. So it's not a perfect pattern. So
all right,
there's no necessary correlation, but I wouldn't put it past Jonathan to still win and be just that dominant that he got the first black jacket without even a debate from Gordon Ramsay. I was actually kind of expecting it, to be honest.
I know Alex, the big comparison. Alex, he got his second round too. So yeah, it'd be interesting for sure. Real quickly, got a donation from Lucan. Thank you very much for the $2. Hometown hero, Demir, the hometown hero, couldn't stop smiling. So let's talk about Demir as we enter this second round. Yo, guys, we got the most amount of viewers we've ever had. Almost 120 viewers right now. Thank you all so much. Again, this is what happens. We have a hype episode like this, right? We get the viewers in to talk about it. So let's talk about the second round. It was a slot machine challenge. And now this one in Gumball, I don't know if you agree, this I thought was very interesting from a storytelling background and I was trying to like piece together who was going to get it. Because we got Carmen, who we all kind of thought probably along with Jason is probably like most likely getting the boot, if not someone like Lee. Carmen got a lot out of nowhere, got a lot of background in this dish and talked about how much this dish meant to her. Again, and remember last round, Jonathan was the only one who got it. So was that a sign for you, Gumball, that Carmen was going to get a black jacket round was going to get the black jacket this round?
Oh yeah, like I feel like it was definitely like pretty good content for her there. Like again, like there's another example of it we'll talk about later in the same episode, but I feel like that circumstance is a little different. I feel like in this case, like it was more so trying to prop up Carmen and why she eventually gets through to this round, even though she is technically the second person in this round to get her black jacket. But I still thought it was a good sign.
Yeah, cool. Like I said, we got a whole bunch of things here. We also got a Lee talking about her husband. I don't know if it was this one. I wasn't both of them. I know like there's like a flashback for one. I can't remember if it was this one or the other one. And also, we'll talk about this later. Also got the classic, this dish could have been better, all of that. We got Ryan flat out saying his dish sucked. So Ultra, what did you make of those two dishes? The fact that they're kind of, making it seem like Lee and Ryan might have like bad dishes. Did you think that was going to be like a got you type moment? They actually produced a good dish, and one of those two are going to get the black jacket.
I will say I think it's overstated that the dishes sucked. They only sucked in comparison to the ones that won. And even then, I paid high dollar for most of that stuff. Like the execution might have been a teensy bit off, but it sounded delicious. So there's that. But yeah, I wasn't sure about another fake out happening. With Carmen, I was faked out big time. I was not expecting her to get her black jacket as early as she did. I'm happy because she's still in my draft. Oh, in case you're curious, by the way, you, me, and Ruby, all even. We all have 2 members left.
Let's go.
It's anybody's game still. I'll be honest, I think it's Ruby's game because he still has Jonathan, but it technically is anybody's game.
And then let's talk about, so that's the thing about Demir Gumball. That was what I found the most interesting. And his episode in general, like even though he got the black jacket, it's kind of like a downer. We can talk about that. He didn't get like any background. He didn't get like a fake out. He didn't get like any, background and I'm hyping up my dish. You know what? He produced a great dish, not in his first, and he had 2 rounds to do it too. Had a good first dish, didn't quite make it. Second dish, great. You're in. Really didn't get any like background information, personal content, anything this entire episode up until like the very end. So Gumball, as we've all kind of, thought Demir, has been like the most and prone to beat Jonathan at the end as the biggest competition. What do you think of this episode for Demir? Does this hurt his chances?
Not really. I mean, obviously, like it didn't go as ideal for him as he probably would have liked, but I still had a lot of confidence he was going to get the black jacket here, especially again, like in the second round, like he was one of these people where Gordon had nothing but good things to say about his dish in the second round. And it just made a lot of sense for him to get the black jacket here. I wasn't too hung up about other people getting personal content, as I felt like it either meant like they were like more in danger or like they were just going to do exceptionally, overwhelmingly well in that particular round. But I wasn't too worried about Demir. Like going home per se here.
Okay, so what is that? But what about like your overall thoughts on him in this season? Does this like his lack of personal content for such a big episode? Would he still be like other than Jonathan, like your number 2 in your power rankings as of now?
Oh yeah, like I think there's still enough here for him to be number 2. I still think he's I think the show is still like brought them up as a mostly consistent chef, and I feel like that's gonna play out like in the rest of the season playing out.
All right, cool. We'll definitely talk about that more, especially with what Jonathan had to say, who we think his biggest front runner is. That'd definitely be interesting to talk about. Got a quick another $134 donation from Bali, so thank you very much. So yeah,
nice
with that, say what?
I was saying nice icon to Fluffily.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, so that brings us to the final round where it was between Ryan, Lee, and Jason. And again, I think we all kind of knew. I think we were all kind of expecting, okay, Ryan's got this, right? But again, like I was really paying attention. The edit really got me, and of course, we all know what happened. It kind of made sense given the circumstances. But the edit really kind of got me. Again, Ryan just really didn't get that much. Jason was kind of hyping himself up. I mean, obviously, I think they're kind of setting him up for a downfall. But Lee, once again, got that content. Once again, talked about her husband. Once again, talking about how important this dish meant to her. So, Ultra, and chat, this goes for you as well, too. Were you thinking, when the dishes were done, before they served the dishes, who do you think was going to be the only person, at the time, the only person to get the black jacket?
Ryan,
okay. So you were still confident Ryan would be the one to do it?
I was, like, not just because of Jason's obvious build-up that they were going to have him eliminated at this crucial stage. It was that Lee did make an error when making her lamb, and I figured that, yeah, it's going to be the one thing that tips her over the edge.
Well, we got it quite again. Editors did a good job. We got Lee's, Ryan's. We got a good mixture of everything right now in the chat. So, Gumball, what were you thinking? Were you thinking, because we all knew, we'll get to Jason in a second. When it came down to those two, who did you think at the time was going to get the final black jacket, Lee or Ryan?
Yeah, I thought it was Ryan too. I mean, I know like Lee got the better edit within the episode in terms of like personal content, but kind of similar to Jason, I felt like it was more so like a farewell for her than anything else. I felt like Ryan's overall content of the show brought them up to be more of a black jacket. So when I saw Gordon calling out Lee's name to get a black jacket, I was actually kind of shocked. I was like, how can Ryan go home right now? Like, he seems more like a first black jacket boot than the last pre-black jacket boot. But obviously it makes sense now.
Yeah, that's what got me. Because again, like from the edit, because that's the thing. I see what you both are saying when it comes to like Lee's, personal content, like a good send off. But the fact that happened to her twice, like they're really gonna bring up her husband twice, and she still gets the boot. That's what kind of what shocked me. So that's why I was really feeling that it would be Lee to get the black jacket. And again, I was so shocked at the time that Ryan would indeed, go from a possible contender to win and not even get a black jacket. So we'll talk more about that in a second. But first, we got to talk about the only boot tonight. Thank goodness, the only boot of tonight. He had quite the run. He went out with a bang, Let's talk about it, chat. Give me all your opinions about Jason, good or bad. What do you think of him? He's been quite the character this season. Mr. Jason, look at that face. Ultra, as what's overall thoughts? I can already see Jason's gone. Hallelujah. Let's get the comments going, boy. Obviously, 2 weeks ago, the big controversy that he said. He kind of goes out with a whimper here, but overall thoughts on Jason this season?
Again, I stand by. He's still not the worst Jason I've ever seen in Hell's Kitchen. That's honor still goes to Jason Underwood, who belongs in the underworld, like the torturous part of it. I forget what the name of it is. It's been a hot minute, but yeah, it's I will say, at least Jason Underwood, I consistently hated from second one. I never once liked him. This Jason, honestly, I've already forgotten his last name. He did, right? He was so up and down. But yeah, when I hated him, I did hate him. Still never as much. Again, it's hard to come back from the blatantly, horribly sexist things that Jason Underwood would say. Heaton was never that bad. He was just so overly high on himself. He's less like that Jason and more like a new version of Scott Hawley when you really get down to it from season 7, except somehow he made it much further. Who knows why? Well, okay, we kind of know why. It's for ratings, but
this is a good comment by Lucas. This is a good comment by Lucas, and I'm kind of interested what you guys think because we were kind of upset, especially with how the season would have looked like we thought. I was kind of underwhelmed that Jason, this big villain, he's obviously got survived last week for pretty much no reason, just to kind of go home like pretty unceremoniously. So Gumball, do you feel like this is for our first like true big time villain in a long time that actually like not just a villain but like really really hated villain? I'll give your thoughts on Jason in a second, but do you feel like this is like even more satisfying than had he gone home next week or even got ejected? The fact that he's the only person to not make the black jacket, when it was insinuated there would be 2. Do you feel like that's maybe the editors kind of even hyped him up even like more so as a villain just for this moment?
I don't know. I mean, like they definitely like tried to. I feel like they gave him about as positive of an edit as they could have. Like with him, like getting the whole callback to his signature dish and like him trying to fix that mistake, and he does do okay at it like the second time. But like even Gordon like has something bad to say about it. Like he says like what did he say? He says the sauce needed more seasoning. That's what he said. But I don't know. Like I felt like again, he's not the worst villain in the world. Like especially now, like that I'm watching like these older seasons one at a time. Like they definitely could have. They definitely could have given him a much worse edit in my eyes. And obviously, like it made sense for him to go now. Like he's clearly the donkey of the season. Look at me. I'm already one of you.
Awesome.
But yeah, I mean, it makes sense for him to go here.
What are your overall thoughts as, again, a new-time viewer? What are your overall thoughts on Jason this season?
Again, like I felt like he was a fine character. Like again, definitely like a fun presence. Like seeing him being overconfident. Like him, like even in this episode, like we even saw him being like, "They're wrong. Like I'm the best chef here. I should have gotten the black jacket." So I know I found that kind of funny. But again, definitely one of the bigger characters of the season, and I'm kind of glad he was here as long as he did. Sort of like the other like people that we've seen, like maybe not as bad as Matt from season 4, but yeah, like definitely glad he was on the season.
That's a very good comparison. Same, it kind of looked the same now that I think about it. Kind of up and down. They had their moments for sure, even like some positive moments in the middle of the season. But like between that, like the awfulness in the beginning with everything that happened, and these last 2 episodes, especially where he blamed the sous chefs and even like said like Gordon Ramsay made the wrong decision tonight. So definitely a fun. Like I said, I kind of agree. I know the chat like probably really. I feel like the chat's like a little hard on him, and I can see why. But from my point of view, again, like kind of like in my opinion, if I'm being honest, like almost like the perfect villain where it's like he's fun to dunk on, but like not like awful, awful, awful. Again, like a Jason Underwood, like Ultra's been saying. So that is the end of Jason. Any other comments about Jason before we talk about the big twist, not just the big twist this season, one of the biggest twists of all time?
I was going to say, I would argue the opposite of what you said a minute ago about the chat being a little hard on him. I think they were kind of being easy because a lot of them were saying like, okay, he's not as bad as like old school villains, which is true.
Well, there have been.
But when you grade it on a curve like that, he is like as bad for this season as say Jen was for season 4, or Lacey was for season 5, or Melissa was for season 3, and so on and so forth.
I just know the chat last week.
I do agree with what Lucas is saying down here. Is he Sabrina or Russell or Elise or Mark?
Right now.
Okay, I like him a little less than Mark at the very least. I as much as he was, I at least appreciate his passion. The others, I somewhat say he's in the same league, just by a more modern standard, if you will.
So I guess the point is, play what you will about Jason. I think we can all kind of agree. Like he was definitely a character of the season for sure, if not one of the main characters. Honestly, again, I hate to say that about the Black Jackets, but might go down as like a top 3 character of the season, depending on what happens. But yeah, let's talk about the big twist, the big Black Jacket. Speaking of the Black Jackets, Ultra, I'll start with you. I know some people have been kind of saying in the comments, and I kind of realized at the end, I was so like gun home thinking that Ryan was, I guess, this big character that got taken out, like probably the first true character that would get taken out before the Black Jackets in a long time. Ultra and chat, this goes for you. I want to know if you guys thought this as well. When Lee got the Black Jacket, were you expecting this twist at all, or was this like a complete like blindside? The fact that Ryan also got the Black Jacket and the final 6 Black Jacket, baby.
I legit kind of was surprised. pleasantly surprised, to be fair, because for one thing, Ryan deserved it. I was like, nothing even looks wrong with that dish. It like I if I could reach to the screen and grab it and eat it myself right now, I would. It looks so delicious. And if it really was just a teensy bit worse than Lee, it was by like an atom-sized fraction, whatever it was. Yeah, but then to see that, we're getting the final 6 Black Jackets again, I'm like, good. I feel as though those are usually the more entertaining ones. Like, no disrespect to the final 5 ones, because like you get your moments with those too, but I find that a final 6 service has often been a little bit more entertaining for Black Jackets, because I remember it for season 14, definitely. I remember for season 12. I remember for season 10. Oh, and this reminds me, I got to correct Gordon Ramsay on something. He said that he hadn't done this in 10 years. Incorrect, because the last time he did this was in season 14, and that aired in 2015. That is less than 10 years ago. So you might want to double check your math there.
I think he could care less. His time's probably learning.
I guess so. Yeah, it's practically a decade, so I guess close.
It was 7 years and 3 months since we last had a final 6. There we go, something like that. Could you imagine?
9 years, but or 8. Who cares? Yes, I'm just happy you have it back.
Bro, what's your opinion?
Promo. It does look like from the promo that it is going to be a dynamite final 6 service, so I think that might prove my point.
Gumball, what's your thoughts on what were you thinking? Were you expecting this twist at all whatsoever? Or did you think Ryan was a goner after this?
Yeah, I thought Ryan was a goner. Like, I mean, especially when, again, like I haven't seen the more recent seasons, so my reaction to this twist is probably not as big as yours probably is, but yeah, I thought Ryan, I was just kind of confused because I felt like Ryan was set up to make Black Jackets, and I was surprised when it seemed like he was going to go home. And then when we got the twist, it was probably less like, wow, like this is the first time they're doing this twist in a while, and more like, okay, it makes sense why Ryan is still in the game now. So maybe not as big of an overall reaction, but like I am happy Ryan's still in the game. Like I'm glad we're gonna at least see like a dinner service play out, or at least one more dinner service than we probably would have otherwise, unless there's like a double eviction or something. But yeah, like I was still happy to see it happen.
All right, so we got 6 Black Jackets. Jason is gone. Drama throughout. Chat, I want to know. I think we can all agree it's probably like one of, if not the best of the season, and we can think of we can even have that chat. But Ultra, consider the circumstances again, the fact that kind of trolled Jason, say what you will about him, the fact he's gonna want to go home, and the fact that we got the final 6 and such a surprise twist, the return of the final 6 Black Jackets. Where, especially for such a usually boring episode, where does this episode rank all time for you? Is this an all-time episode, or are we just kind of overreacting in the moment, given the situation?
I'd probably pull back, or I maybe would wait about a week or two to fully say whether we're overreacting or not. I can't act like there's not anything satisfying about the episode and that it wasn't keeping me on my toes. I do love that fight we got at the beginning. It really did feel cathartic to see Jonathan just say, "Hey, Jason, you're scum." He righteously got that first Black Jacket without even a second thought. It's one of those things where I was like, I feel like that's just deserved. He can't talk. He shouldn't even have to have it tasted. That's legit. Okay, yes, have it tasted. That would be unfair, but he's one of those chefs at this point where it's like, hasn't he proved himself enough? But yeah, there's that, and then there's Carmen again getting her Black Jacket, which threw me off. I mean, she earned it, so I'm not saying it's wrong. It's just one of those things where I wasn't expecting it. I also was expecting that she would probably go home alongside Jason. She didn't, so good for her. And then, yeah, Jason going home, a very satisfying elimination. If you wanted to add that to your last video, Flynn, you could do that, the one you did about satisfying eliminations. And then and then Ryan being eliminated at 6, or so we thought, and then being saved for a final 6 Black Jackets. That was like, oh, okay. So
I think that's another thing that's so iconic. The fact that it was Ryan, had it been someone like Lee, that'd be cool for her. But the fact that we were all thinking oh my God, this potential, forget Black Jackets, this potential person to go against Jonathan was going to get the boot, only for it to be a final six in the Black Jackets. The fact that Jason was kind of had a great ending, all things considered, to his arc. Just fabulous all right around. Gumball. So maybe obviously you can answer all-time episode. Like again, this was obviously not your first, but your first like Black Jackets Lounge challenge. And like obviously you've seen some other like challenge eliminations this episode this season. What's been your favorite? I'm curious. What's been your favorite episode of the season so far?
So yeah, this is definitely a pretty solid episode. I'd say probably the best of the season so far.
Okay.
But yeah, in terms of it being an all-time great episode, like it was definitely pretty solid. Like, I mean, yeah, a lot of great moments there. Like, yeah, like obviously Jason leaving is pretty satisfying. You have like the arguments at the beginning that's pretty good.
Yeah,
and just like the quality of the dishes, like all being pretty good. Like I don't know like what the caliber of cooking is for this stage in most Black Jacket Lounge challenges, but like the fact that all the dishes are good, like really just shows how competitive this final 7 was. So like, I feel like that was also pretty interesting.
Alrighty, cool. So let's talk about now that we're at the Black Jacket. I mean, that makes me just so happy to say a final 6 Black Jackets. Let's talk about some predictions for next week. With that said, Ultra and Chad, I mean, do you think? I mean, I guess this kind of has to mean like to fit the schedule. Are we going to see a double boot at the Black Jacket service? Are we in for like an iconically bad service, or is it just going to be like that? What's your thoughts for next week? And also, will Ryan be the curse continue? The first Black Jacket, the final Black Jacket, first eliminated. Will that continue? Let me know.
Well, as far as that goes, I wonder if maybe him being included in the Black Jackets was done not just because he deserved it, but also to throw off that curse, because that's been happening for final 5s. A final 6 does throw a wrench in the gears on this one, because what does that mean exactly? Who knows? Also, I'm just going to be honest, based on what we saw with the promo, I don't think it happens. I could be wrong, but hey, even with what happened with Cheyenne last season, we did at least get build up that could happen. Most of the focus with the edit about who was going to be in trouble next week were 2 chefs who were not Ryan. I won't say who, just in case people didn't catch that part, but yeah, it didn't look like he was in danger. So unless the edit is doing an extra good job at deceiving us, which I would give props for if they were, I don't think he actually goes home. So we'll see. I could be wrong. It's one of those things where I'll eat my hat. No, I won't eat my hat. I love this hat. I'm not eating it, but yeah, there's that. What was the first part of the question? I forgot that part.
Do you think it's gonna be a double boot? I mean, kind of has to be, I guess, right?
That actually, I actually have a theory for that one. For those who've been watching Big Brother Reindeer Games when that was around, I like the season, by the way. That was good. I wonder if it's like a Battle Royale style finale where it's like 4 people there and they get eliminated like one by one like that. We've kind of been doing that with Final 3s. If they did that with a Final 4.
Oh, dude, no, don't put that in the universe. No, don't put that in the universe. We're not going to put that in the universe. Oh, my God. Guys. He did not just put, you're good. I kicked you out. You put that in the universe. We can't have it. It's already bad enough that we're getting people getting screwed to Final 3. Now the Final 4, we can't have that happen.
Okay, I'll admit that would be weird, but it would shake things up, right? I'm about to say, like, my camera go out.
You're absolutely right. Jonathan's going to go from no, do not say. Jonathan will go from possibly getting screwed to the Final 3 and now a double chance of getting screwed. Oh, my God. You guys, oh, my God. Do not skip Fox Ultra.
Yes, you all can blame me if that actually does happen. Hey, for all we know, me putting it out there might actually jinx it.
Oh, my God.
It's possible. Who knows?
Oh, God.
Wow, everyone hates it. I said that in the chat. Like, I'm sorry. Hey, it's just something I considered.
Dude, did you obviously after All Stars? I mean, if they did it again, and like someone like Demir and Jonathan went from like finale to like 4th place, yeah, like you thought All Stars was bad, it would be like all time. Like
yeah, that would be kind of bad. Although how many unfair exits have actually quite a few when you think about it with Jason.
Yeah, but that's like an actual another twist. It's one thing for like a bad elimination. The fact that 2 people now from this twist are bad enough. One gets screwed by this fucking. Oh,
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie, like, I'm not just saying this because the chat is, like, furious at me that I even considered this option. It's one of those things where I don't actually think that's going to happen. What do you mean rare L, TP rules? I give a ton of L's if you watch my channel. But I don't actually think that could happen. It's just one of those things where, I don't know, that'd be a pretty interesting turn if they tried that. I don't think they're going to actually try that.
It'd be interesting, I'll say that, but not exactly for the best of reasons. All right, so after that, Gumball, what do you think next week? All right, talk some sense to the Ultra. We're gonna get a double boot, right? And if we do,
yeah, please talk sense to me. I need it.
Because again, it was very interesting, right? Because we'll talk about what Jonathan had to say about Ryan here in a second, but like again, the black jacket curse. Does Ryan go home? You know, is it finally now Lee or Carmen goes home? The kind of underrated our ladies. Is Jonathan finally in some trouble? I mean, he definitely looked like he was getting chewed out. You can't edit that no other way around it. He obviously did something wrong next service. What's your predictions for next week? And chat, same for you. If it is a double boots, who's your predictions for next week?
Yeah, so admittedly, I haven't been watching all the like next ons for each episode, but I did catch it this week. I did see like the bad Jonathan stuff that happened in it. But at the end of the day, like I try not to take like promos at too much face value because I know in Survivor they tend to like be like misdirects a lot of time, and that just because like someone's being highlighted as a target in a promo for Survivor doesn't mean they're actually going to go home in the next episode. So I try to take the promos with a grain of salt, like especially with like what happens on Hell's Kitchen sometimes, with like their cliffhangers before commercials. I might think it might not be as bad. Like maybe it might just be maybe these things we see are just minor like things. Like maybe it's one mistake, or maybe like Gordon gets like annoyed at Jonathan or something, but it's not like as big of a mistake. So I try to take it with a grain of salt. Like we'll have to see what actually happens within the episode. In terms of what's gonna happen, like again, like I don't know, like I'm not like I don't come into an episode expecting there to be a double boot, especially like if we're not having a double boot with what happened with Jason in the last episode. The fact that didn't lead to an ejection, I don't know. I feel like it's probably gonna have to be more if it's gonna be like an actual full-on ejection.
Here's the thing, though. If I see Ultra smiling, he's getting ideas like, "Yeah, you're on board." No, but the thing was, if they don't do a
no, I was looking at the chat. I'm gonna be honest. I didn't catch that. But go ahead.
I'm just messing you at this point. But no, if the thing is, because usually there's 3 episodes left this season, right? Or well, I guess I'll take that back. So I take that back. Maybe they could do 2 rounds of final 6 boots, final 5 boots, and then final 4, and then final 3. These past couple of seasons, though, the finale has been a final 3, and that's been 2 parts. So I guess I didn't think of that. They theoretically could do 1 boot at a time. They'll just break up the format, right? So if they don't do that,
I think more likely what happens is they do the same thing they were doing back when the final 6s were actually happening, and they just have a double elimination at final 4. Not the Battle Royale style I mentioned, but like what they began doing from like season 7 onward, where it's like 2 double eliminations near the end.
Wouldn't that be a 180 going from this Battle Royale type thing to we go back to, oh my God, that would make the season like the best of all time.
I'll be fair, like I do think that's much more possible anyway. It's just one of those things. Again, I'm not gonna go back to that, but that's more likely. And would that be any more or less unfair to how they did it back in the show? Because you could almost argue that people have been screwed over by that too, like John in season 11 or Jillian in season 8. Like some of the like only real good chefs in like weak casts, and they got eliminated at the just because of a double elimination at the final 4. Like, did they deserve that? I'm not sure they did.
Yeah, so real quick about to my point, like, so the reason why I feel like next week either has to be a double elimination or like it's going to in fact be a final 6 boot, final 5 boot, a double boot at final 4. Because again, if we were to do like a 1 elimination next week, right, and it is like the final 5, like, because remember it's usually always a pass. So are they going to like do like 5 people at the pass? Is that going to be a big twist this season? Like instead of a final 4 pass, we're going to get a final 5 pass this season for the first time ever. I guess maybe they could fit it in there. That'd be really, really tough, but. Maybe, and then obviously the final 3 is determined that way, or even final 2 for God's sakes. I don't know. All of a sudden, that's the thing. This just got really interesting. So, chat, let me know what you guys think and how it's going to work. Whether we're going to get like 1 boot at a time, this reindeer games is going to happen, or we're going to get like a final 5 type thing at the pass. Final 3 again. I don't know. Maybe get a final 2 and no freaking challenge elimination. It's going to be very, very interesting. So, cool. One more thing while you guys are all saying that. Gumball, real quick, because we haven't talked about this yet, especially I did find this kind of interesting. Jonathan, and this is what I was kind of saying, maybe a bad episode for Demir. Jonathan said that Ryan, of all people, was his biggest competition. Is that a sign that the fact like the far away front runner is in fact saying that Ryan's the biggest competition? Is that a sign of things to come? Is the edit trying to get us in that direction?
It could. But I will say, like, so something about Ryan about all season is even though I was surprised when it looked like he was going to be voted out pre Black Jacket, I still don't think he's actually going to win or really get to the end by the end of it. I feel like for the last couple of weeks, like the idea I have of him is being like either like the first Black Jacket boot or being like a Final Four boot or something like that. Like the shit that's like mostly good, but like it's just missing like one or two things. Like maybe it's leadership, maybe it's consistency, maybe it's like something that like puts him over the top. And I feel like that's going to be the thing that's going to stop Ryan from getting to the end. I will say that comment by Jonathan was interesting that Ryan is like his biggest competition. I just feel like it's going to lead to Jonathan beating Ryan by the end of it, that he is going to succeed in like winning this battle against Ryan. But I don't know if it means Ryan's going to get to the final two. I still feel like Demir is like one of the more consistent chefs. And I feel like Demir is like Demir or heck, possibly even Carmen could like slip their way into the final two at that point. So I don't know. I don't think Ryan's going to get to the end. Like, I don't think it's going to be like a Jonathan Ryan showdown. I feel like if anything, it's just going to be like one of them, and I lean towards that person being Jonathan.
Okay, interesting. Yeah.
I actually do have another thought that I just now realized. I mean, I already brought this up in a previous podcast about how Jonathan is now the first person in Hell's Kitchen history to have a punishment pass by the Black Jackets. That was basically confirmed last week because we saw they were happening, so there wouldn't be a reward challenge. So he just did that already. But at Final Five, there would only be like, what, 2 chances at most to use that again, I think. And that's assuming that they even bring a second person to the reward. But with Final Six, you actually do get probably another chance to use that. So yeah. I think that might be another reason they might have done that.
That's another interesting caveat. So yeah, I'm just very, like I said, this was an all-time great episode, like at least in terms of outcome. And I'm just so genuinely interested to see, like, is next week gonna be a double boot? That alone is gonna be interesting. Again, like if it's like if they have like if I have a decent service, but like Ramsey forced to eliminate 2 people, would someone like Jonathan be in trouble at that point over like a minuscule mistake? And he just has to fit the schedule, I guess. Are we gonna get like a Final 5 pass? Is it gonna be like 2 boots in a row and we get rid of the Final 3 challenge and just Final 2 finale? So I'm really, really excited to see how the season turns out. With that said, final prediction. With all this said, all this speculation now, any big predictions for the Black Jackets? Now we have our Black Jackets. Like, who's going to be the final Black Jacket boot? Who's going to be a boot next week? Any like terrible service we might see? Like any big twist? Ultra, I'll start with you.
If I may spoil a little bit, just from the promo that we saw, again, I don't know actually what happens, just what the promo showed us, it looks like Lee and Jonathan might be in trouble. Now, with that said, well, I think that it could lead to a Jonathan nomination. I'm pretty darn certain he doesn't go home from this unless he has like a Nilka style meltdown or something like that. And I don't think that's likely, but you never know. This season's been surprising me a little bit. Lee, I do think it's possible, even though she's been pretty good all throughout this season. It's just between them, who's been better? Obviously, Jonathan.
And Gumball, again, anything about this episode change things for you? Any like big things you might be expecting now from someone like under the radar, or like maybe someone like a Jonathan could be in for a downfall? What do you think? Any big predictions for the Black Jackets?
I don't know. I feel like I'm a little higher on Carmen now. Like I feel like I could see Carmen slipping to the end a bit more than I could have before. Again, in terms of who's going to be the first Black Jacket boot, again, like assuming the promos are similar to how they are on Survivor, I think Jonathan and Lee will probably be fine, but you never know.
Alrighty. All right, guys. So I think we'll wrap it up right there. Thank you all so much. We had over 100 viewers the entire time and got to the most amount of viewers we had ever had on these podcasts. So thank you all so much for tuning in to maybe we're just kind of overreacting the moment, but a really, really, really good episode regardless. So, and yeah, this should be a very, very fun finish, a very, very fun finish to the end with everything that could happen with how unpredictable it is. So yeah, with that said, Ultra, any final things you have about this episode or in general for the audience? And can we expect to see you next week?
Next week, most likely no. The week after, potentially, but we'll see how that goes. I do 100% plan to be here at least for the finale. It's just going to be a matter of me working out time with my work center. But yeah, if I can do that, then you should at least see me then. Probably not next week, though. But Gumball, if you're going to be a part of this group now, then I'm sure the audience will be happy to see you again next week.
For sure, yeah, Gumball. What's the new Hell's Kitchen YouTuber? What can people expect to? We already kind of said at the beginning, but for those who weren't here, what can people expect from you going forward? And yeah, just kind of give it to any other big thoughts about this episode.
Oh yeah, on the whole, pretty good episode. But yeah, I'll be back again. I'll be back again next week. Season 2 video will probably be out next Wednesday. Aside from that, like, the main show that's coming up is The Traders, so I'll be doing coverage of that. I mean, that should be a lot of fun. Got some Survivor people on there, some Big Brother people on there. It'll be a fun ride.
All right. So with that said, guys, I guess right on 9 o'clock my time on the dot. So overall, again, thank you all so much for being with us throughout. Because again, it's literally most of you were here throughout to discuss this episode. And yeah, of course, be sure to next week we'll be joined. Looks like in this case by Gumball and Ruby Stretch, who you saw throughout the comments throughout the day, to kind of talk about the episode. And we should be very, very interesting episode. Whatever happens, it's definitely up in the air what could happen. So this season just definitely went up a notch. I'm excited to see what happens. And I'll see you all next week to discuss it. With that said, have a good one, y'all. Peace.